You walk into the grocery store, and at the dairy case you see milk labeled RBST free. What does this mean? Does it necessarily mean that the unlabeled milk to these questions and more about RBST milk? RBST, also known as recombinant somatotropin. BST comes from the bovine pituitary gland. The B in BST stands for bovine or cow. ST, somatotropin, is a naturally occurring growth hormone. It occurs in all animals, and it's very species specific, meaning that humans have a very different type than do cows. This hormone was discovered in Russia in the 1920s and was first used in cows in 1937. Research stopped because it was very costly to have somebody stand in a slaughterhouse and cut the pituitary gland out of cows and then purify it to make the hormone to use in the dairy industry. So in the 1980s, biotechnology renewed research in BST, and the same technology is also used to produce insulin that's used today. Posilac, the only commercial product used today in the dairy industry, was approved for U.S. producers in 1993 and introduced onto the market in 1994. It is a shot that's given to the cow every 2 weeks, and it increases production up to 15%. Cows showed a slight increase in mastitis, which is an infection of the udder, and a slight reduction in pregnancy rate, but these all occur in high-producing cows. So it's an indirect effect of Posilac. It can occur in a cow not using Posilac. Because the extra feed intake that the extra feed that the cow consumes is strictly for milk, it's a very small increase. They've already eaten the feed to maintain their body, and any increase in feed intake is strictly for milk. So the more milk, they produce more milk, there's less feed used to maintain the cows, less cows, and in turn there's less manure. To put this into perspective, Henry Miller writes, for every million cows treated with RBST each year, more than 5.5 million gallons of gas and diesel fuel are saved. Now, there is much opposition to the use of RBST, and I'll show you a video from Ben and Jerry's.
I am with Andy Barker in beautiful Vermont, the headquarters of Ben and Jerry's, and he's explaining to me why Ben and Jerry's will never use RBGH treated cows. Why? Why is that?
Well, RBGH is a drug. It's actually a synthetic hormone, and it's given to dairy cows to increase their milk production. And we really feel it's not healthy for cows, and it's also not healthy for humans in the sense that it contributes to antibiotic resistance. So our feeling is no farm management system is sustainable if it's not contributing to healthy outcomes. So cows have more mastitis, which is an infection of the udder, and more lameness, and several other health problems. This is scientifically been shown. And they also have much shorter productive lives, so farmers have to replace them more quickly. And because they get more infections, they need to be treated with antibiotics more, and that contributes to the problem of antibiotic resistance in drugs that are used for humans to treat bacterial infections as well. So we don't think that's part of a sustainable management program to have all those negative side effects.
Great tip. Well, thank you. So try to avoid cows that are treated with this artificial hormone, as well as support manufacturers that are using milk that's not treated with this hormone for a better environment and a better healthy meal.
According to agbioforum.org, milk and milk products have always contained BST, and even when injected, RBST has no effect on humans. RBST has to be broken down in order to pass through the human stomach wall. And Richard Wolfson of Consumer Health Organization of Canada claims if untreated, the infection can get into the cow's milk, so farmers try to cure it by giving the cow antibiotics, more drugs that can find their way into the milk on your table. And the infection he's talking about is mastitis, which he claims is directly caused by RBST. And even if what Dr. Wolfson were saying was completely true, it is almost impossible for antibiotics to enter the milk supply because of the strict standards used on dairy farms to keep antibiotics out of milk. And they will be found and traced back to the farm. And I have personal experience where one cow was treated with the antibiotic and 1,500 gallons of milk had to be dumped down the drain because the whole bulk tank was infected with antibiotics and they cannot enter the milk supply under any circumstances. And that was a very, very small dose of antibiotics in the milk. And on top of all that, there is no test for RBST residue in milk. There's no way to test to see if RBST-free milk even has no RBST in it. There are farms that I know of that get paid to be RBST-free yet still use it. Both kinds of milk go on the same truck also at the farm. So even there is a good chance that RBST-free milk and RBST-free dairy products do contain RBST. And what should you do as consumers? Don't just decide on what you buy based on a trend. Ask the store if they know what RBST even is. And lastly, never think that because a label says something means it's better. Always read the fine print.